Hiya folks, Simon here, welcome back to the channel, and this is the HS700E. I am going to be doing a review of this particular product today. This is a drone that was sent to me by Holystone. They contacted me, Simon, will you do a video review if we send this to you? I reply, of course I will do a video review if you send it to me. There were no other stipulations, so you are going to be getting my honest thoughts today. So this is currently available on Amazon for about £280, and I'm going to be honest with you, I had never flown a drone before from this particular budget or this particular price range. In fact, I'm only really familiar with the DJI Mini 2 and Mini 3 Pro and Air 2S, so this is definitely going to be something new for me. Now, of course, I know going into this that it is going to be in a completely different category to those other drones, so I am going to review this on its own merits and also explain what I think is the target market for this particular drone. So let's go ahead, we'll get into the unboxing. I'll show you everything that comes inside this package and then we'll head outside for the flight itself. Okay, so let's crack on then with the unboxing of the HS700E. So inside we have everything stored already directly within the carrying case. There we go. Well, of course, we have the drone itself, the HS700E, and you can see that the drone has some landing legs along with the camera and the space where we need to manually install all of the props. I'll run through all of that with you in a little while. Now, the HS700E does have software image stabilization. We'll have to see how it all works out once we go through our test flight. But yeah, just bear that in mind. Unlike some more expensive drones, there is no gimbal there. Now, if we just look at the front, you can see where we need to put the SD card. And I believe it supports up to 128 gigabytes, if I'm not mistaken. And around the back here is where we need to slot in our battery. I'll show you that as well. On the bottom, we have two LED lights, and here is the optical sensor that will just help determine the distance from the ground, so that will just of course aid in landing and what have you. And I think that's pretty much everything. We do need to go ahead and install the props. Oh, I should also mention as well that these rings around each of the bottom of the legs are also LED lights. And I believe there's one more somewhere as well. Oh yes, right here on the front. Okay, so there we have it. That's the drone itself. Let's go ahead and take a look at the controller next. So if we open the antenna here. Now, in fact, as far as I understand it, only this left side is an antenna. This here on the right is, well, it's nothing really. Okay, so it's just there for show, I guess. I'm not too sure. But you do have some flexibility on how to adjust the antenna here, and of course as you're flying you'll need to make sure that this is pointed in the direction of the drone itself. We also have some grips at the bottom. Where does the phone go? Well, that goes just up here at the top. So if we just open that, I believe that slides down. Let's just make sure that's out all the way. There we go. That slides down there, and then we can put our phone into position. Okay, so I've put my Samsung S9 into position there, and you have a little bit of flexibility with the angle, not a huge amount, but you can adjust that slightly depending on how you want that positioned. And there is a screen here which will also give you a little bit of telemetry as well. So we'll just take the phone off there. Now the phone connects wirelessly to this controller, not by a cable. And on the right hand side you have a GPS switch. You're going to want to probably keep that on, otherwise you're going to have to do every aspect of the flying yourself, including return to home, etc. That will be disabled if GPS is turned off. On the back we have a slot for two AA batteries which will need to be installed before you can use the controller. And let's have a look as we move the controller around. Okay, to the front of the controller then we have the sticks, of course, and these work pretty much as you would expect with, you know, when you're flying a drone. So you have your altitude, you have your on-the-spot pivot there, where you can just spin the drone around. And then over here you have your forwards, your backwards, and your, I don't know, I'll call it strafing left and strafing right, where the drone will still face the same direction, but move left or right depending on how you move the stick. Here, this little switch is for automatic landing and takeoff. And then over here we have our return to home functionality, so we'll test that out as well. And here we have the power button to turn the controller on or off. And over here, this is to just get the drone ready for flight. So, and it's also used in pairing the drone. I believe to pair the drone, we hold that down and then move the power switch to on. But you'll only need to do that the first time, of course, since the drone will then be paired with the controller. Well, I'll just pop that down for now. On the top here, we have two wheels. This one is fixed. Show you that, fixed, it doesn't do anything. This one will allow you to adjust the camera, so it's in its default position, it's facing straight on, but you can move this wheel here to adjust the camera so it faces downwards or any angle in between. And we have our take photo button. If you click that mid-flight, you will take a picture. If you hold it down, you will start a recording, and holding it down again will stop the recording. And then finally over here we have a button that by clicking it would allow you to adjust the speed of the drone, or by holding it down will enable or disable those LED lights that I showed you. So yeah, that's the controller. And next up we have not one but two batteries. Now these batteries, let me just have a look here. Okay, if you guys can see that. They are 7.4 volts, 2,800 milliamp hour batteries, and they will give you, at least they are rated to give you 23 minutes of flight time each. Now, of course, we're not going to get the full rated amount of flight time, so I will run one of these batteries down on video so you guys can see what a more real world example will be there. But you do get two of them, so whatever the flight time is, it should be doubled. Now, sadly, there's no charging hub included, so you do have to charge each battery, separately by itself. But you do get USB-C charging, so that's always nice over micro USB. Yep, and there's the second battery as well, which is identical to the first. And then this little package here is our charging cables. And fortunately, Holystone have given us two, so that we can charge both of those batteries together. And we have a screwdriver. Now, why do we have a screwdriver? Well, it's not for the props, which is what you might be thinking, since they are toolless. What it is for is if you want to remove the landing gear itself. So you can see, if I can show you that, if I can angle that correctly, there are a couple of screws, and by using this included Phillips screwdriver, crosshead screwdriver, there's 4 screws in total. You can remove these landing legs if you would prefer to do so. And then finally, in the pouch at the back, we have a number of things here. Inside here we have the instructions, so browse that at your leisure. And then we have our props themselves. And we actually have 2 packs of props, so we do get a spare. Now, it's a little tough to show you this on camera, but there are 2 prop types. There are A. Can you see that? It actually says the letter A. And also there are B props. So there's 2A and there are 2B. So it's really difficult to show that, but in person it's very easy to see. Now, what you want to do is, in order to attach the props, is just make sure that the camera on the drone is facing you. So I'm standing over here, okay? And with the camera facing you, on the bottom right is an A prop, and these work diagonally. So diagonal to this one is over here, that is the second A prop, and then the remaining 2 are the B props. So just remember it works diagonally, and with the camera facing you, bottom right is A. Okay, so in order to attach these props, there are 2 tabs and 2 slots for the tabs to fit into. So let's go ahead and pop that down. And once it's popped down, we just need to turn the prop in the direction that the arrow indicates. And there it is, the prop is attached. It's actually very, very easy to do. So again, this was A, which means diagonal over here is also A. There we go. That took literally 10 seconds, if that. The battery itself is very easy. We have the connection there, and on the battery you can see where the connection is. So we just have to make sure that that is lined up and it fits into position there. Very, very easy. We also have the LED indicators, which just show us how much battery charge we have left. In order, this isn't charged so I can't show you, but in order to turn the drone on with the battery in place, we just hold the button down there. Oh, there is a little bit of charge there, so that's good. That's out of the box charge. You can see those LEDs as well, and the white LED at the front there. If you want to turn the drone back off again, just hold that button down and wait for all of those LEDs to eventually go out. There we go. And in order to remove the battery, there's two grips on the side, so just push those in. So now that I've shown you the actual physical drone, the controller, the batteries and everything else, shown you how to attach the propellers, I think it's time to get back outside and see this thing in action, don't you? So first of all, we do need to find a nice flat surface, and it looks like the kids' trampoline is going to be the perfect surface. And it is important because pretty much every time we want to fly this drone, we're just going to have to confirm the calibrations. And that means we need to make sure the drone is very level, otherwise the GPS lock is not going to be great. Right now, of course, I am going to show you the drone in action for a brief flight. I'm going to take it to the end of the field, and then we're going to test the return to home functionality. So you can see here how it's going to be taking off from the trampoline, and we're going to see how much closer we can get to this spot when we actually bring it back automatically. So let's go ahead here and go for the takeoff. Now, in order to take off, we just tap the takeoff button there. Oh, before we do that, we do need to actually start the props. And then we can take off in one swipe. How simple is that, eh? And the GPS lock on this thing is actually not too bad at all. It really isn't. I was not expecting it to work so well. So let's go ahead and get some height. If we take it up to about 40 to 50 metres, maybe about 40 metres will be fine. But yeah, I am honestly surprised by how well this thing flies. It's not the fastest drone. It's currently in the highest speed. There's 2 speed. It's in sports mode. But it does go at a fair pace. It really does. When you consider the price point of this thing in comparison to the more expensive DJI drones that I fly, okay, it's not going to compete with those. But as I say, for the price point, it is perhaps a great entry into the hobby for many people. Once you've stopped using the sticks, it takes a few seconds just to reposition itself. Once it does, it's very steady, but it doesn't reposition immediately. So once you've stopped controlling the flight and you just want the drone to hover, it will move around a little bit in the space that it's in before it comes to a fixed point. Now, that's just something you may need to be aware of, especially if you're going to be letting go of the sticks and there are obstacles around you, because of course there is no obstacle avoidance on this particular drone, and you wouldn't expect there to be for the price. Okay, so we're 200 meters away, 42 meters up in the air. We can see that our connection is dropping a little bit. If you lose connection, then as long as you've got a home position, which you should never fly without one, after 6 seconds of a lost signal, the drone will return itself back to the starting location, to the home point. So in order to use return to home, we simply tap the return to home button and slide across there, and it will go to the height that we set for return to home. Now, interestingly, this drone will not turn around when returning to home. It will simply travel in a straight line, facing whichever way it is facing before you use the return to home functionality. If you think it's not going to land correctly, or if it's going to go for a swim in a pond on its way down, then you can actually cancel the return to home just by tapping the same button. You don't need to slide this time though. A tap of that button will cancel the return to home immediately. So here it comes. It's not the fastest at descending, which is absolutely fine. It gives you a great opportunity just to check that the landing is going to be successful, or if you need to make any further adjustments to it. Honestly, guys, I think as far as beginner drones go, I've been very impressed with this particular model. I really have. As much as I love the DJI Mini 2 and the DJI Mini 3 drones, and clearly as technology, they are better than this, there's no doubt about that. Their higher price points just make the entry into the hobby a little bit more expensive, but not everybody's prepared to do that, of course. Whereas a drone such as this may just be a little bit more tempting for those people. Now, it looks like it's not going to be as accurate as I was hoping it to be, but you always tend to get mixed results with return to home functionality, don't you? So I'm going to cancel that there. You can just see exactly, I think we're about 1.5 meters away. So probably about 5 feet, 4 to 5 feet away from where we took off from. But it's not difficult just to cancel that, as I've just done. And that GPS lock at the moment seems absolutely solid. It really does. So that's good. So now we're just going to hold the down button. And you can keep holding the down button until the props stop. Or you can hold the red padlock for 3 seconds and that will automatically stop the motors as well, even if you're in the air. So yeah, just be aware of that. If you hold that down whilst the drone is in flight, it's gonna come crashing down. But that's the return to home. It works, okay? It wasn't as accurate as perhaps, you know, some of the more expensive drones are, but it does the job. If you need to bring the drone back, you can bring it right back, and maybe you'll have a more accurate landing than I did. If not, very easy just to cancel that and just maneuver it a little bit further into position before the actual touchdown. And just a friendly reminder, folks, that because this drone is over 250 grams and it does have a camera, you will have to register with the Civil Aviation Authority here in the UK before you can legally fly this drone outside. And that means that you'll need to register for an operator ID, which you can attach onto the drone, and also you will need to get a flyer ID. And when you do fly a drone under the open category with the A3 subcategory, which is where this will fall into for most of you, then you cannot fly within 50 meters of uninvolved persons. So sure, if you take this to a wedding or something, as long as everybody there knows that you're going to be using it, that's okay. But when you're flying it over the public and what have you, well, you can't, quite frankly, because of those regulations. So other than at events where everybody knows you're flying, this is mostly going to be relegated to countryside use. Okay, so it's been a couple of days since the return to home test. I've charged the batteries up. The weather is pretty nice again today. It's a little bit windy, but it is quite warm. So what I want to do is I've put a fresh battery in. I want to see how the drone flies and how long it can fly against the rated 23 minutes that these batteries are given. Now, I don't, in my experience, ever get anywhere close to what the manufacturers say you're going to get, because they obviously test in perfect conditions. So I'd be interested to see just how much we do get out of these batteries. So what we're going to do is get the drone into the air again. Going to go for a little flight. I'm going to do a video test. I've got an SD card in here now. We're going to see what the 4K footage looks like, and we're going to take a couple of pictures and maybe test out the follow me mode functionality that the HS700E has also. So, okay, let's get the drone up. Right, so all I've done is the geomagnet calibration. I'm going to go ahead and start the screen recording, and then by the time we finish the screen recording, we'll see how long the battery has lasted based on the length of the video file. And one thing I do want to do is show you how you can calibrate the gyro, which for some reason you don't get instructed to do this, but it is very important. And all you need to do is, with both of these sticks, move them to the bottom left, and then you'll get gyro calibration on the screen. And then you just need to keep the drone flat on a level surface until that message switches back to, well, the fact that it's done, okay? So with that done, we're now ready for takeoff. And I would recommend doing that just before each flight. It only takes a couple of seconds. And that seems to be keeping its lock relatively smoothly. Just seeing how that flies. Oh, beautiful. No, that's very, very good. I think that gyro calibration makes a big difference as well. Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely solid. Let's get some distance, or some height rather, some altitude. And what I'm going to do is start a video recording here. I'll just move the, I was going to say gimbal, but I suppose it is a gimbal, is it? Maybe like a one-axis gimbal rather than the three-axis gimbals that you get on the more expensive drones. So let's start the video recording. I'll just check my settings here, which I can't do actually because we're in the middle of the flight, but I do know that it is set to 4K. Yep, so let's start that recording and we'll go for a little flight here. There she goes, the HS700E in action. And our altitude is currently 32 meters. Yeah, what do you think of the quality of this footage then, folks? This is the 4K video footage, and by the time you see this, it should be directly off the memory card as well. Now, we're currently at a distance of, where are we, 200 meters or thereabouts. Well, one thing I have got to get used to a little bit is because of the Wi-Fi connection between the drone, between the phone and the controller, or rather between the phone and the drone, and then the drone to the controller, is that there is a little bit of input lag, okay, because we're not connected via the cable here, and it looks like we're about to lose connection there. Yep, not connected. So there is an automatic return to home function, but I can also move a little bit closer as well. And I do believe that the automatic return to home functionality has now enabled itself. And we're connected to 17 satellites as well, which is good. And it looks like yep, we're coming back. I don't know if you guys can see that. This is why, of course, it is important to always fly within visual line of sight. But that is the automatic return to home functionality of the HS700E, which I'll be honest, I wasn't planning on testing, but it's good to see that that works. Of course, we're not going to get the same sort of range out of this drone as we do with the DJI drones that have OcuSync technology. So the way this works, as far as I understand, is it still uses the same Wi-Fi tech, but it simply selects the channel straight from the get-go. I'm going to cancel return to home there, just so I can control things. Yep, there we go. Yeah, it still uses the same Wi-Fi tech, but no OcuSync. So it's going to select one channel on takeoff, and then it's going to stick to that channel. It's not going to adjust automatically in flight. But it looks like now that the drone has come back into range, all of the signal has sorted itself out again. As I say, that automatic return to home is functioning perfectly, so that's good. A little bit of a unplanned test there, but nice to know that it works. The safety features on this drone, even though it's only a sub 300 pound drone, it still has those safety features. And that's why it's important to make sure you take off with satellites to confirm that you have a home point and that you have your return to home altitude set correctly, as I did, of course. So let's just have another little whiz around. I won't take it too far this time. So we've tested that feature once, I don't need to test it again. Yeah, just want to get a good idea of how the video looks really, as we whiz around the fields here. You can actually get some pretty exciting shots, I've got to say. You really can. Yeah, pretty fun. It's a fun drone, I will say that. This is a really, really fun drone to fly. It really is. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to turn myself around, or rather reposition myself, and we'll grab a couple of pictures maybe. Just trying to reposition because of the sun. So I'll drop the camera, not the gimbal, the camera. There we go, and we'll stop the video recording. And then take some photos. Oh, Unfortunately, for some reason, I don't know why this is, I can't take photos onto the memory card. They will be stored on the phone, but sadly the quality of those is lacking because they're being transferred over Wi-Fi. I'm not sure whether there's an issue with my memory card or whether there's a bug with the software, but every time I try and take a photo, I just get this prompt error with no other additional information, and no photos are then stored onto the memory card. So that is sad, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to show you the quality of the pictures. But if anybody else has this issue, or maybe you had this issue and you was able to fix it, then please do let me know in the comments. I'd be very much appreciative of that fix so that I can actually take some pictures here in good quality. One thing we can test though is the follow me mode. So this is a fun little feature. Just remember there is no obstacle avoidance on this drone. So you need to make sure that you are within 15 and 95 feet, I believe it is. And in order to use this mode, we're going to tap the icon above the home point icons and then just select follow me. And you don't need to draw anything because it would simply follow the controller. So as long as you're holding the controller, then that's set automatically. I'm just going to see if I can move so that I'm not shining my Osmo Action directly into the sunlight, as you are not going to see squat. Again, just be fully aware of your surroundings here. But it is working. As you guys can see, the drone will move around as well. It won't just pivot on the spot. If I stand backwards over here, yeah, you can see a bit of movement there in the drone itself. Now, obviously I do want to be a little bit careful because of the trees. So let's move over here. And the drone should follow us. It will try and keep the same distance that you set when you enabled the follow me mode. So it's just one of those nice features that you have available with the HS700E. And it's built directly into the software, so no third-party software is needed for this. That's awesome. Wow. Okay, well I'm just going to stop that for now. We get the idea. The longer I use it, the more likely I am to crash. So let's just turn that off. And just to briefly mention those other options, orbit flight, that is the distance that the drone will orbit around an object when you select the orbit flight. Headless mode is an interesting one. I don't fully understand it. Had to play about with it. I could not get my head around it, no pun intended. As far as I'm aware, it adjusts how the sticks operate the drone based on the orientation that the drone is facing on takeoff. Apparently some people find that easier. It was incredibly confusing for me, I've got to say, incredibly confusing. So the battery is saying we've dropped 1 bar now after the flight that we've done so far, which is pretty impressive because we've done video and follow me mode and what have you. But one thing I have noticed is that the indicator isn't as accurate as perhaps you might expect. In other words, it can drop down to 1 bar very, very quickly. I'm not sure exactly how long the flight's been going for so far. But remember, the battery's rated for 23 minutes. So I wouldn't expect it to get 23 minutes. £255 you can get this drone for on Amazon at the moment with various discount codes. I've also managed to scrounge a discount code off Holystone, which I'll leave in the description for you guys if you do want to get this drone. But for £255, this is a really, really fun product. It really is. It's not a prosumer device, and no one's going to pretend it's a prosumer device, you know, at least not me. It does what it's supposed to do, and it does it well. Well, let's go out for another little flight then, shall we? Obviously, the range on this thing isn't going to allow you to go on long flights or whatever, and you rarely have any danger of going out of visual line of sight, which is something you need to remain in under UK drone law. It's rated, I believe, for 1 kilometre if you're not using a phone. You can use this directly with the controller itself, or 500 metres if you are using a phone, as I am. And to be honest, we weren't far off that, were we? when we lost our signal. One thing I would say is that the HS700E, it packs a punch in terms of its decibel level. I don't know what it is, but having flown the Mini 2 and the Mini 3 recently, you can definitely hear this thing. If you're flying out in public, just consider the fact that you are going to be drawing quite a bit of attention to yourself. So how are we on battery? It's still at 3 out of 4. I tell you what, the battery on this thing is impressive. I was expecting after about 10 minutes or so we'd be getting battery warnings, but alas, that is not the case at all. So that's really, really good. That's definitely a positive, especially because you get that additional battery as well. You know, you get plenty of time to get whatever shots you want to get, whatever video, whatever photos, if it works for you. It doesn't for me on the photo side of things. But especially now, I'm getting a lot more confident with flying this thing. I'm really starting to realise just how fun it is to use. It's a camera, a drone, 2 batteries, a carrying case and some other accessories for 260 quid. So, and I've never flown a drone before actually with landing legs. So being able to just land on the grass and not cut the grass or damage the propeller motors is a bonus as well. Okay, and now we get the low battery warning. So it's saying we're at 2 out of 4. I can't read that message because of the glare. The battery only support the drone flying in 30-metre altitude and 100 metres. Ah, okay. So this is another safety feature, is it? So if I try and lift the drone up, so 5 metres, yada yada, it's only going to go to 30 metres max. Is that correct? Yep, it's locked me out. And it's returning to home automatically. Wow, I'll tell you what, the safety features on this thing are remarkable for the price point. They really are. That is impressive. So, yeah, I took it to 30 metres. It wouldn't let me fly any higher than that. And now it's come over the home point. Now, it's not landing, but I guess it's hinting for me to land. So, okay. Let's just start bringing it down then, shall we? What a neat little product this is. I'm guessing the fact, I don't know if you can see, but all of the legs are flashing red, indicates low battery perhaps. Okay, let's just bring it down now to a landing. And again, with those landing legs, you can land anywhere. We'll stop the props. Yeah, so the screen recording was 18 minutes and 54 seconds, just under 19 minutes, which is pretty darn close to that 23 minutes of rated time. I thought that was excellent, actually. I thought maybe we get about 10 to 15 minutes, but no, quite a bit more than that. All right then, folks. Well, we've had a few flights. We've had our fun, so to speak. So now it's time to get down to business. What do I think of the HS700E? Of course, I went into this video saying I'm going to judge this thing on its own merits at £280. It was never going to be in the same category as the DJI drones that I typically fly. And in that context, I am actually really impressed with this product. I didn't expect going into this video that I would enjoy flying this thing as much as I have done. It is a really fun product. Now, of course, there are some features that are lacking, and at £280, I would expect that. But for what it does do, it does very well. In fact, right from the unboxing, when I first got my hands on this, I was really happy and surprised with just how well built it actually feels. I was expecting something far more flimsy, but that's not what this is. It does feel good quality. Okay, so that is definitely a positive. Now, unfortunately, the controller, not so much. This thing does feel flimsy. This thing does feel like if you're not careful, you are going to snap something off it. The way all these, you know, the grips and that come out, they do feel like the mechanism behind them is a little bit stiff. It feels like it could snap if you're not careful. The same with where you put your mobile phone up here. I feel like if I'm a little bit too rough with this thing, something's going to break on it. So yeah, the money's definitely gone into the drone, not so much the controller itself. And while the drone does fly very well, it does need to be calibrated. It really does before each flight. If you find after takeoff it's just drifting all over the place, chances are you need to recalibrate the gyro, but also the compass as well. Just on every flight, make sure you do that. As long as you do, then you'll find that you do get a good GPS lock, and it is just a really pleasant drone to fly. Of course, the range isn't the greatest range. You're looking between about 500 meters and 1,000 meters, depending on whether you're using a mobile phone device or not. In my case, I was, so we did have that emergency return to home, which worked very well. The safety features on this thing are absolutely comparable with the more expensive drones that I usually fly. So that is definitely something that is a pro point. You know, it's a positive, absolutely. Something else I was surprised by was the batteries. You know, first of all, you get 2 of them. Holystone could have skimped out. They didn't. You do get 2, which is a good thing. But also, even though they're only rated at 23 minutes, which may not sound like a lot compared to what more expensive drones tell you you're going to get out of their batteries, this is much closer in real life to what you actually do get. So I was able to fly on a single battery charge, including video recording, using some of the features like follow me mode, for nearly 20 minutes off one battery. So only 3 minutes off what Holystone themselves say you're going to get in perfect conditions. So that is really, really good, and far more than I expected in terms of battery life. Now, how about the camera itself? Well, I did get that 4K footage, and let's be honest, it's not the highest quality 4K footage you're ever going to see in your life. But again, you know, if you need to be able to take video from that vantage point, you can't reach with your selfie stick, then definitely this is absolutely acceptable for the task. Now, yes, if you're coming from another drone where you're used to having a 3-axis gimbal, you are going to notice the lack of that with the HS700E. But if that is something that's important to you, then you'll just have to go ahead and spend £500 to £1,000 on a drone that does have a better stabilisation. You do get the the software image stabilization, which I think does have an impact. Okay, when the drone is just hovering, it's not shaking all over the place, the video footage, so that image stabilization is in effect there. But of course, if you're trying to get shots when you're moving around, those shots are going to be different. I'm not going to say they're worse off, but they are going to be different to the type of shots you would get with a drone that has a 3-axis gimbal. So overall, I would say the 4K footage is acceptable. It's not brilliant, but it does the job. So TLDR, if you're looking to get into the drone hobby and you don't want to splash out on a more expensive drone until you know that you're going to actually enjoy the hobby, or perhaps you want to get some drone footage but don't think you're going to be flying all that much and just want to use a drone from time to time, so are not too fussed about having all of the top range features that you get on some of the more expensive drones on the market today, then I think the HS700E can be the right fit for you. And so at its price point and at that market, I would definitely recommend the Holystone HS700E. I'm going to pop out and have another fly now. It really is a lot of fun. See you later, folks. Have a good day.